Selamünaleyküm cümleten. Öncelikle hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Maşallah. Tabii burada bulunanlar bugüne kadar herhalde Türkçeyi epeyce öğrenmiştir ama arkadaşlar da İngilizce konuşmanın daha faydalı olacağını söylüyorlar. Hanımların adedi biraz az mı? Onlar da okuyor mu? Kaç kişi var? Kız öğrencilerden.
15 kişi var.
He?
15 kişi.
15 kişi. İyi maşallah.
Okuyan da var mı?
Okumayanlar da var. Evet, peki. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Allah razı olsun. Tabii burası sizin memleketiniz. İnşallah burada yapacağınız tahsilden sonra özellikle Türkiye ile Bangladeş arasındaki münasebetlerimizi gerek ticari yönden, gerek sosyal yönden veya eğitim yönünden, teknoloji yönünden daha iyi bir noktaya taşımaya yardımcı olacaksınız. Tabii ben inşallah İngilizce olarak da sizlere birkaç kelimeyi ifade etmek istiyorum. Belki bundan istifade edilir Bangladeş'te de diye. First, I would like again to thank you for inviting me to talk to you on such a form. May Allah help you in your struggle, in your efforts. Now you are attending universities in Turkey. I hope you will be graduating in a very good position. But I would like to emphasize that while you are studying, you have to be very good in your topic. That is extremely important. A few years later, tomorrow perhaps, when you start working, then you will need what you have learned to put it into practice in your day-to-day life. Unfortunately, Muslim countries, as you can see, is in a dilemma. We have the best values in the world. Our belief, Islam, is the last religion that was conveyed to humanity. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the best example which was sent to us, and the book that was revealed is the last one. The message that we have received is extremely important because it is actually the last message that was revealed and that will be revealed by God Almighty in the life or period of humanity. So we have to know our basic principles. Islam is not just composed of certain rituals. We have to perform our prayers, daily prayers. We should not neglect under any circumstances our prayers. We have to fast during Ramadan. If we have the means, we have to pay zakat. And if we have the means in time, we have to perform Hajj. And we have let everyone know that we are Muslims, that is Shahada. We have to make it very clear. But this is just a form. The basic beliefs starts from there. Why we have to perform all our duties, obligatory duties, it is because we should not cut our relationship with God Almighty. 5 times we pray every day. It doesn't finish. We want to give a message to those people who do not know Islam or who are against Islam. They have just heard that there is a religion called Islam, but they don't know what it is. We have to show them what we are, who we are, what is our belief, what it means to be a Muslim. Then we can see, we will realize that people in thousands, millions will converge on Islam. Muslims have created, as I said, very powerful states in the past. In the time of Umayyads or Abbasis, we know there were some mistakes made. It was very obvious. But afterwards, we can see how powerful the states that they have established. For example, in Spain, after 7/11, Tariq bin Ziyad, he crossed the straits and then he burned his ships and they settled and established Andalusian state. They did not force anybody to become a Muslim. Anybody. But people accepted Islam because it was the natural religion, natural way of belief and life. In time, it seems that they have lost their criteria, abandoned their criteria, and then they were weakened. They started collaborating with those people who were trying to eliminate them from the face of earth. Only temporarily, some groups promised them that they will help to overcome their brothers. Once that understanding became a rule, very rapidly, Muslims had to leave Spain. The last year was 1492. The Christians did not allow one even Muslim or Jew to live in Spain. Either they were massacred or they changed their belief, they changed their life, day-to-day life. Similar things happened in the Muslim world, in the Central Asia, in Persia, in India, and in Anatolia. Selçukis were very powerful. During the time of Sultan Salahuddin, they conquered Jerusalem again, which they had lost nearly 19 years ago. And then they collapsed and Ottomans were established. And they lasted nearly 600 years. But at the end, they lost their power as well. Step by step, we have to pinpoint where we were misled, where we took the wrong decisions, especially those who are ruling the countries. The governments are extremely important. Rulers are extremely important. It has always been. But their weakness is created due to the people who were appointed by them and who were their advisors but they misled them. We have to realize this. Justice is the first priority that in any country, Islam or Muslims or non-Muslims, doesn't make any difference. That justice is the backbone of a state. If you do not have justice, then problems will start creeping and, in fact, deforming the nation, the country. The rulers, because they have the power, they can dominate. They can impose such restrictions that no one can speak against them. But it does weaken the country. It doesn't give any strength. So we always should not forget that the establishment of a true state depends on the establishment of justice. Especially in Bangladesh, within the last decade, you know this fact better than anyone else, I believe. And it isn't just for Bangladesh. It is the same understanding is necessary for every country. For Turkey, Arabia, Egypt, Nigeria, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Malaysia, Pakistan, it doesn't matter. Everywhere there are 57 states, independent Muslim states. In each one of them, the governments should uphold justice. It doesn't matter what the result is. They may sometimes not benefit from such a condition, but at the end, they will be remembered with goodwill, always. Of course, after justice, in fact, what we can describe as moral values that we should improve. Muslims have to be very compassionate to their friends, to their neighbors, to their countrymen, to all the Muslims in the world who are living. It doesn't matter where they live. They have to be compassionate. They have to be caring. If they have any needs, material needs, then we should try to get rid of those deficiencies that they may have. We have to make sacrifice as the Muslim world. That is, as you know, the hadith that even if there is a needle stings a Muslim in the West, the one that is living in the East should feel the pain that he gets. And he should try to find a remedy for that illness. We have to care out for, not just for our Muslim brothers. In fact, we should be compassionate towards all our neighbors, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim. Because in the hadith, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not make any difference that those, while their neighbor goes to sleep in hunger, those who do not feel or run to get rid of their need is responsible, is guilty of not compromising, not trying to help get rid of that need that they have, they are feeling. Muslims, our principles are very different from those that is cherished by the Western countries or the communist countries. It doesn't make any difference. Because everything depends on justice and then feeling compassionate to the needs of our neighbors, our countrymen, or human beings in general. We should not mislead anyone. We have to be truthful. We have to know how we can make sacrifice. These are basic moral values. Of course, in this respect, I must make stress upon the change of attitude in the West towards population and especially the family. Within the last nearly 30 or 40 years, but especially within the last 15 to 20 years, the family as we know is under attack. They want to change the concept of family. We know, and everybody knows, that family is the kernel, the root of any society. And family is composed of two people, a man and a woman. And then comes children. Only a man and woman and the children are brought into view if you have a proper family. Now they are changing this rule. And when they are changing these rules, there is no discussion in the West. They are not allowed to make any discussion. They just impose. They talk of freedom of religion. They talk about freedom of thought. They talk about freedom of press. But when it comes to these points, they don't want any discussion at all. They say, no, you have to accept it, that a family can be composed of two men and two women as well. And they can adopt children. This opens the gates to what we cannot really describe. The human race will be destroyed. This is a corrupt understanding of family. This is not family. We have to observe this development very, very closely so that in our countries, in the coming future, no one will force us to accept something like this. This type of understanding. No one should think that in our country, no one will accept such a value as human value or something like that. You will not even realize. In Turkey, we do not realize what's happening in Turkey. So many agreements are made in the name of joining the European Union. A lot of concessions are given. And when we try to understand the topics that they have accepted, the points, unbelievable. But, as I said, these are the moral values, spiritual values, ethics that we should cherish in our countries. But just moral values is not enough to make a country strong, to make a country composed of people who have a comfortable way of life. We have to be strong economically, materially as well. Especially on this point. Unfortunately, Muslim countries are basically exploited by especially in the past capitalist countries, but now it doesn't matter whether they are capitalist or not, by other countries as well. Because those countries who are improving their standard of living very rapidly, industrializing, establishing big plants to have a workforce, to own their day-to-day earnings, needs, and at the same time to get stronger, so that in the world they will have a saying when certain policies are tried to impose on our countries. To be strong means, as I said, materially, economically, industrially, technologically, we have to be strong. It is like a human being. I mean, we can all just spend our lives performing our religious duties. It is necessary for us, but it does not give us strength. Materially, just as a human being, we have this body, we have our brain, we have our heart, feelings. We have to improve in those spheres, but at the same time, materially, we have to be a strong Muslim. A strong Muslim is better than a weak one, it is told to us. Strength, as I said, means in this day and age, economy, industry, technology, production. This cannot happen on its own, because those countries who want to improve their conditions, who want to have influence on the countries who are underdeveloped, they are trying to oppress them for the last 300 years. Methods have changed, but the minds stay in the same place. It has not changed at all. They have occupied most of the Muslim countries and those non-Muslim countries who are poor in the South America, Central America, in Africa, in Asia. We know that they dominated these parts of the world for the last 300 years at least. But they did not help to improve the material condition in these countries. We have to see this fact. We have to understand this fact. So, in each country, while we are trying to have to improve our moral and spiritual values, ethical values, through education and social functions, but at the same time, we have to try to improve our economic well-being as well. Industrial well-being, technological well-being. When I say industry and technology, I am not putting aside agriculture and animal husbandry. It goes hand to hand. We are humans. First, we have to feed ourselves, our countries, our nation. So, food industry that depends on agriculture is in every country is the priority. We have to be independent in that respect. We should not need help, any help from any other country. as much as possible, of course. In certain countries, we know that the agricultural means is not enough. In Bangladesh, compared with the population and the extent of the land, does not allow this in Bangladesh. But whatever you have in your country, in agriculture, in fishery, in animal husbandry, whatever sector it is, you have to try to improve your conditions. It is not enough. In your country, at the same time, you have to improve industrial understanding. Now the population in Bangladesh nearing 200 million. The figures change. Sometimes they say 160 million, sometimes 180, sometimes they go as far as going 200 million. But it doesn't matter. It is not under 150 million, as it seems. 150 million is a big population. It is not easy to feed. But just depending on the agriculture, you cannot sustain your food in Bangladesh. You have to improve your industrial activities. Because at present, industrial development and technological development gives us strength and means to overcome our poverty in our countries. And this is a must for every country, every Muslim country, every developing country, that we should first of all try to come to a position where agriculturally we should have sufficient production in our countries. But developing an industry means a lot of investment. This needs a proper planning. Without planning, it is impossible for us to improve our conditions. First, we should have our resources defined. Whichever country we are living, our natural resources. That means the agricultural fields where the animals can feed themselves on pastures, but in especially the natural resources which we have under our soil, we have to define them, find them, and try to make use of them. And then we have to have a plan to improve our industrial and technological levels. Education is important. You've come all the way to Turkey to improve your knowledge. And I believe that when I asked, mostly you are studying in social spheres. But you have to, how many people are studying in technical faculties? Can you lift your hands? Agriculture. Where agriculture included, of course. Yes, not many. Yes, but still, even if in social spheres you may take activities, especially those who are studying politics, you should know that economic activities, industrial activities, social, technological activities has to have a priority in the material development of your countries. In the universities, there has to be a lot of research how to improve the conditions in Bangladesh And in other countries, of course, everyone in their own country at the beginning should try to improve their condition. But in today's conditions, in today's world that we are living in, for any country to improve their conditions on their own resources will not be sufficient, will not be enough. Countries who have been exploited by imperialists, we have to develop new policies so that we'll improve our conditions before they improve their own conditions by exploiting our resources. So we have to come together. How we can come together when we talk about, first, we have to establish closer relationship with neighboring countries, especially the neighboring Muslim countries. In Bangladesh, you are a bit squeezed in a land where you do not have very friendly atmosphere around. Yes, we know that. But still, you can play a very important role because the borders now, even if it is thousands of kilometers away, you can have a relationship with some other countries who can help Bangladesh develop together. It could be Turkey, it could be Iran, Malaysia, Indonesia, whichever countries you can put down. They have not to be, if you have a border, it is better, of course. But if you do not have any border with other Muslim countries, you can establish very strong ties and you can cooperate among yourselves to improve the conditions. The population of Muslim world today is now nearing 2 billion. Nearly 1/4 of the human beings living in this world are Muslims. But unfortunately, the poorest countries are mostly among the Muslim countries, although we have tremendous natural resources as Muslim countries. 70 to 75% of petroleum reserves is in the Muslim land. 65–70% of natural gas we have in the Muslim countries, including Turkey, in Iran, I am sure in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, wherever you go, we have very important natural resources that we can make use of to improve our conditions. For example, in Turkey, there is ore called boron. I know you may know this, bore. Nearly 65–70% of the world's bore reserves are in Turkey. 65 to 70. It is the most strategic element that we have in the world. More important than petroleum, even natural gas. But unfortunately, we do not properly make use of that natural resource. There is a law even that Turkish companies who are dealing with bore cannot be privatized. That means we cannot let foreign companies own that resource. But in a different way, unfortunately, they are now exploiting that reserve against us. But we have to be conscious of these facts, how we are trying to come together. I must make a few points as well in this respect. After the Second World War, Ottoman state collapsed. And then there was no country in the Muslim world who could lead the Muslim world. Neither Saudi Arabia, nor Egypt, or Turkey, or other countries. So we were in turmoil. In 1920s and 30s, there was a move to establish Khilafah in the world so that it will bring the Muslims together. A Khilafah without power is no Khilafah at all. You can, if you go to Morocco, there is a Khalifa there, you know that. So what? Nothing happens. It is a Khilafah which rules Morocco, that's all. We need to have the countries, Muslim countries, coming together so that we shall solve our problems on our own self, on our own ideas. Now, the most important issue today in the world, in the Muslim world, is the Palestine issue of Jerusalem. Muslims have lost that land, and a state called Israel was established there. But today they are oppressing the Palestinian Muslims and Christians equally in a terrible way. Everyone is protesting, but nothing is happening. Why? Because there is no organization which can have an influence of that country, any influence on the rulers of that country. Because we do not have enough power, enough strength. Because of this, Professor Erbakan, you know his name. I hope you have read his the books that put forward his ideals. Knew this fact. On one side, he proclaimed that our first need is to improve our moral values in Turkey. Secondly, we have to improve our economic, industrial, and technological needs. But thirdly, as Muslims, we have to come together to solve our problems, which has, under the international pressure, put us apart. We need Islamic unity. Where shall we start? He realized that Jerusalem, Qudus, was the issue that every Muslim country agreed. So, after 1969, when he took a step in the political field, he made it a duty for himself to convene a meeting in Konya called Qudus meetings. And he invited all scholars and politicians from all over the world to come to Konya once a year and to remember the issue of Palestine and how we shall solve this problem. in time, it has been now 50 years exactly, then it became an important issue on the agenda of the Muslim countries. After, as you know, 1967, 69, it was called Jewish and Arab War. In fact, it should not be named as such. Then the Saudi King Faisal, he as well decided that we need a unity among Muslim countries so that we shall try to solve this problem, not one by one as Muslim countries, but as a whole. And he took the steps to establish the Conference of Muslim Countries. It was called the Conference of Muslim Countries. As you know, later on, some years ago, the name was changed. It was the Congregation of the Muslim Countries now, so that we shall solve not just the issue of Palestine, but we should discuss our other problems, so that in the world, as Muslims, we should try to put forward a policy which will help all of us. Unfortunately, he was, as you know, assassinated by his nephew, and everybody dropped this idea. When we were in governments in 1970s, we tried to improve the conditions of this organization, OIC. Unfortunately, we were not successful. So in 1996, when Erbakan was the Prime Minister of Turkey, then he decided to establish a new organization which will have fewer members but more influential countries. D8 was established. As you know, Nigeria, Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Indonesia. The population of these countries are over 60 million, excluding Malaysia, but Malaysia was technologically and industrially was improved, more improved than the others, so that they could take a role in that respect. And in Indonesia, they had the aircraft industry, so that we could improve our conditions in that respect as well. But after the signature, that when he established the aid, he had to, according to the conditions, that day's conditions in Turkey, in political conditions, he had to resign from the post of Prime Minister, and new government was established, and then the aid was forgotten. This should be the aim of every Muslim, that Muslim countries should come together and we should try to solve our own problems with our own ideas. Now, it has been really some time that I tried to define the condition of the Muslim countries, Muslims as a whole, and what we should do as our countrymen in each country. Now, I want to summarize that the goals that we should never forget as Muslims. First, we have to have justice and a notion which would improve our each country on our own feet so that we can stand on our feet at least psychologically, sociologically, psychologically. We have to improve justice. Justice is the utmost important issue. And then comes social organizations, protecting of family, moral values, trying to help each other, and we have to improve our ethical conditions as well. This is a must, but it is not enough. We should, secondly, improve our material conditions as well. That means in the economy, we have to adopt such a policy which will make our countries individually stronger than today. Thirdly, the world is coming smaller. In the world that we are living in, as Muslim countries, we have to come together. We have to establish a very strong dialogue among our countries. Wherever it is necessary, we should aid each other. Of course, we cannot, again, I have to stress upon that it is not just the Muslim countries. We should establish relationship with the underdeveloped countries as well. In Africa, there are very many countries who are again oppressed, who are again exploited by industrialist countries who are now industrially improved. Nearly 100 countries there are, apart from 57 Muslim countries, which we define as 60. That is why we have 3 stages. We say, first, we have to improve the conditions of the aid. The aid should become an influential international organization of Muslim countries. Economical, the aid, economic development, as you can see, the name is not social, political, but economic, for the economic development of the Muslim countries. The Islamic values comes with it. Secondly, we have to activate the Muslim countries as a whole. This is 57 countries, but we define it as 60 countries. Third, we have to bring together another 100 countries which have been exploited by the developed countries. Then we become stronger. No one should think that because the other countries, they have economic, military, technological superiority, they can influence our countries. If we can come together, their efforts will not help them. Just coming together is extremely important. These 3 ideals we should cherish. Let everyone know that we shall try to come together to solve our problems on our own, with our own ideas. We shall create new ideas. We shall improve our conditions. Why should we not have a cooperation of trade among the Muslim countries? The Europeans, they come together. They are now establishing like the United States, United Europe. They have their own currency, they have their own parliament, they have their own government. Now they are trying to improve their conditions. But there are a lot of problems because they come together for materialist means. They do not have the ethical aspiration of Muslim countries. So sooner or later there will be a quarrel among themselves. I mean, never forget that even the First World War and the Second World War did not start between the Muslim countries and the Western countries. No, just the contrary. Between Britain, France, and Germany. First World War started among those countries. Second World War started among those countries as well. So, we are, as Muslims, should not really take part in these controversies. When we become stronger, believe me, most of the countries in the world will try to gain our aid, our support in any issue that they may face. We shall not just improve our conditions in our countries, but we shall try to improve the conditions in the world in general. You may think that this is just imagination, a dream. Well, if you cannot imagine something which is extremely important, you will never be able to change your conditions. First, you have to imagine something. An architect first imagines a building, and then he starts making his drawings, and then someone else, a constructor, builds that imagination, gives life to that imagination. So first we have to imagine. Then we have to put it into practice. For this reason, to come to that conclusion, we have to improve our relationship among Muslim countries. If you look at the world now today, blood is being shed only in Muslim countries. If you come to Iraq, Syria, Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Bangladesh, especially the Arakan Muslims, I mean, the world have accepted that there is an oppression, really unbelievable conditions exist in that part of the world, but no one really takes any step. Even in Central Africa, there are similar problems. If you go to Bangsamoro now, they have gained autonomy. Immediately there was an attack on a church, so that they will try to put some blockade between the Muslims and central Indonesian government. Somehow they are being exploited by the Westerners, unfortunately. Zionism is an important issue, but you should be able to bring it into your agenda very carefully, because everywhere, when you watch foreign, especially televisions, whether BBC, CNN, Fox, or Al Jazeera, Euronews, which I follow only those in English, everywhere lately they are trying to give emphasis to the persecution of Jews in the Holocaust. What about the persecution of Muslims in Palestine now? No one mentions that. Inshallah, the condition will change. As long as we believe in it, as long as we have a high ideal we cherish, and we should try to improve our conditions as much as we can in our countries. May Allah help you in this country. I hope you will return to Bangladesh with good memories and good ideals. Inshallah, one day we'll come and visit Bangladesh again. I've only been once. I definitely want to visit Bangladesh again. I hope the conditions will be suitable for such a visit in the coming future. Again, I thank you for listening to me, and I pray that you will be very successful on your studies. Please convey my salam to your brothers, sisters, families that are not in Turkey, in Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Huzur, for your presentation.
Thank you.
We have a small gift for you, our President.
Okay.
For remembering us.
Thank you. Allah razı olsun. As you know, Mustafa Kaya Bey, our member of management, and he is responsible of foreign relations.